Okay. Okay, we are live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Rebecca Snow. I'm a nutritionist and herbalist, and I have two businesses that I run through Healthie. My clinical practice, Rebecca Snow Nutrition, and I have myself and another practitioner, Kate Costello. We see clients with a number of. I've been in practice since 2004, and Kate joined me in 2018. And then I also have the Nutrition and Herbal Collective, and that is a mentorship program for emerging nutritionists and herbalists that are looking to launch their business, get credentialed in the field. So I wanted to share some insights of how I'm using Healthie in my business. Having been in practice a long time, I started off with handwritten notes and paper charting, and it's evolved over time. I remember when I was at a doctor's office as a licensed nutritionist and herbalist back in 2009, they were just transitioning to EHR. And I left there. I ended up leaving there for other reasons and continued my paper charting. And then around 2013, I started transitioning from handwritten notes to typed notes, but I still did not jump on the bandwagon of EHR, EMR until 2018. So it's been about 4 solid years now of using electronic health records, and it's definitely been a game changer. It's allowed me to grow both my businesses pretty significantly. At that time, what I did, because I was having a really hard time deciding, I actually did an Excel spreadsheet doing a side-by-side comparison of 4 different EHR systems: Calyx, Practice Better, Healthie, and NutraAdmin. And for me, Healthie came out on top for a number of reasons. I mean, at this point, like, my eval is totally outdated because Healthie keeps, adding new features. So there were some features back then in 2018 that Healthie didn't have, such as a food journal technology that allowed for, tracking macronutrient, caloric information. That wasn't a feature back then. But now it is a feature. So at this point, my evaluation is already way out of date. But one of the biggest game changers for me that has helped me, because charting can be such a huge burden, was the auto population of charting notes. Because, and I see this in my mentorship program and mentoring new practitioners, people can get really behind on their charting and feel overwhelmed by it. And the way that I do my charting note is with that auto-populate feature, and you can turn that on and off in Healthie. So some people prefer not to auto-populate their charting note, but basically when I open up a new soap note for a client, it'll auto-populate all the data from my previous soap note, and then I can actually go in and change what's changed. And sometimes visit to visit, not that much changes. So it really helps a lot with my timing on charting. So I wanted to, so this is a snapshot of my messy handwritten notes when I was still doing handwritten notes back in 2012. And then I started to type all my notes. But this, and I kind of created my own like handmade EMR, but that was fraught with difficulties because essentially I had to store client documents on my computer. So I had to create my own encryption and password protection. That was fraught with difficulties. So then I used Google Workspace, then called G Suite, with a signed BAA for HIPAA compliance, but I had to make sure that all copies on my computer were deleted and make sure they were all uploaded to Google. And I still kept paper charts. So even though I typed all my notes, I would print off all the charting notes and store them in a paper chart. So it became cumbersome, and I'm sure that I was not fully HIPAA compliant because I would forget to delete notes off my computer or whatever. So, it had its own challenges. So that was my life before EHR and Healthie. Now, the title of this talk are 4 time-saving tips using Healthie, but honestly, when I started to look at all the ways that using Healthie was saving time, it ended up being like 10 tips. And, one thing is that prior to using Healthie, I was using multiple payment sources. So I used PayPal for invoicing for my mentorship business, and I use Square in Office with the little square up, that you attach to your phone. I would receive checks and cash. Now I still receive checks and cash every now and then. We were 100% virtual during COVID, and I've had a few in-person clients since then. And every once in a while, somebody gives me cash, but 98% of the time, the Healthie invoicing system and payment system works great. For some appointments, I take payment up front. That's a feature that I never had before. I would say that my new patient cancellations from accepting payment at the time people schedule their new patient appointment, I get like 1 out of every 25 new patients might cancel their appointment, but people have to put payment down when they schedule their new patient appointment. So somebody who's on the fence about scheduling is really not going to schedule. And again, that's a feature in Healthie that you can turn on and off. So you can have payment required for booking an appointment, and by selling it as a package, you can also share your calendar link so people can book appointments without having to pay for the appointment first. So once somebody's a client with me, they can go into my calendar and they can book follow-up appointments, and we have an established relationship. And then we use invoicing for my second business, my mentorship business. We use a monthly automated payment for that because it's a membership type practice. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was just the amount of apps that I used to use. So, I mean, essentially, I was thinking about all the different memberships and apps that I would have to use that I canceled once I joined Healthie. I had Zoom or VC for HIPAA compliant teleconferencing. I had SendFax, which is electronic faxing, and then I had a scheduling app, Schedulicity. So I've been able to consolidate all those apps to one. Also for message blasting, so when we have people going through a program, instead of having to craft an email and add people's signatures manually, this is particularly helpful for courses that we run. When we run a course, if we sell a package to a course, we set it up so everybody's automatically added to a group, and then that group we can email as a message blast, so we can communicate with people easily that are signed up for a course or a program or a membership, which we do in our mentorship program. Now, the other thing that's been super exciting in the last year or two is that Healthie joined forces with FullScript. So I use FullScript for many supplement recommendations, and I used to have to go into FullScript and add manually people's name, phone number, and email. It doesn't sound like a lot, but everything matters when you're running a business, particularly as a nutritionist, because, some practitioners, they don't have a lot of paperwork to do, particularly, body workers or somebody who works with their hands or provides the treatment in office. But our treatment as a nutritionist is to create recommendations and meal plans and various tools for the client that's in written form. So that requires work on our part to pull that together. So the more time I can save, just that one simple step of not having to manually add people to FullScript. If I open FullScript from Healthie, I will automatically populate their email and phone number and name into FullScript, and I can easily create a script for them. And I don't even have to go to FullScript to see what I recommended before, because once your client load gets bigger, it's harder to remember what supplement you recommended to which client. So if somebody contacts you and they're like, I need a refill on that vitamin D, and you don't remember which vitamin D, you can easily find it in the charting note. Now, auto-populated super bills has been another game changer. We used to have an old Microsoft Word document and we'd plug in all the data, and that was incredibly time consuming. Also, emailing client forms. I mean, creating the intake flows and for intake forms, I can do onboarding for almost any type of program I run. So for instance, we are teaching a CNS test prep course for interns who are getting credentialed through the BCNS. And we want to learn a little bit about the people who are joining this program. So we have a very short form just with a few questions. And in the intake process, I can also create a form that, and I can jump and show you anything you want to see that I'm talking about, and share my screen and show you what the back end looks like. Sometimes when people are new to Healthie, they might not know where to look for things. So they buy the program and then they're like, how do I find it? So in the intake flow, we have a form that actually has an image of where to find the program and how to access it. And we also give them troubleshooting tips, i.e., do you want the program opened up faster? Just send us an email and we'll open it up faster. Or are you not seeing the chat message? Let us know, that sort of thing. So we use the client intake flow not just for clinical patients, but for programs that we run as well. We offer meal plans as a separate service. So if somebody purchases a meal plan, they get an intake form asking some questions about what they're looking for from that meal plan. Now, I don't know about you, but we have clients from all age range, and some clients that are older in the baby boomer generation don't always know how to use technology. I find sharing a link to my calendar a super easy way to do it. When I open my calendar, there's a link I can cut and paste and send out to clients easily. When somebody emails me and they say, Rebecca, I want to make an appointment with you, I can send them my calendar link. And that is fairly seamless. A lot of people figure out how to manage their own appointments. They can go in, cancel, reschedule, schedule, et cetera, et cetera. But pretty much in all of our client communications, we always include the links because we want to enable them to do it on their own to reduce our administrative time. Because as you know, scheduling clients can be tedious, particularly if you have a live schedule out there. If you have a live schedule out there, then you could offer somebody a few times, but those times might not be there in 3 days when they get back to you. So we want to encourage people to use the app, schedule it themselves. The more we encourage them to do things on their own, the more they're going to access all the other features available to them. I was telling you about my homemade EMR, how I used to cut and paste SOAP notes from Microsoft document to Microsoft document on my computer, then upload to Google. And the auto-populated notes is a game changer for me. And it takes me, so I would say that I spend no more than 15 minutes on charting notes for follow-up visits, documenting the case, creating the recommendations, getting my SOAP note cleaned up. And then for initial consults, it can definitely vary. For a complex case with a lot of lab work to review, I could spend up to an hour. But on a good day, I would say 30 minutes. I can also show you my SOAP note template. And for any of the charting templates that we've created, I'm happy to share them with people. You can actually request forms from somebody else in Healthie, and you are welcome to request any of the forms that I show you that we've created for our practice, because there's a few that I'm going to share my screen and I can show you a few things. So I find that about 60 to 70% of my clients, they use the documents feature to upload their own labs. People get fancy with it. They create their own folders. So I'm not getting as many emails from people with labs, which is awesome. Oh yeah, and I am seeing, yep, okay, so I can actually stop sharing and jump into Healthie to show you a couple of these things people are asking about. You know what? I'm going to do it at the end. Scratch that. I'm going to show you the rest of these tips, and then I'll go back to the chat. I see all your questions, and we can go into Healthie, and I'll show you some different things that I'm doing. Okay, cool. So when I first started practicing, I had all these 3-ring binders with handouts. And do you remember those? The plastic sleeves that you'd store all your handouts in? So handouts have come a long way. I still sometimes when I'm in my office, I see those old binders. I haven't gotten rid of them, but I haven't touched them in years. And pretty much those went away with Healthie. Thank God, because they were very hard to keep up with these 3-ring binders with all the handouts. Now, essentially, I store all my handouts in Healthie. And it's so cool because there's a search function. So if I can't remember which folder I put the phytonutrient spectrum chart from IFM, all I need to do is put in phytonutrient and I can find the handout very easily to share with a client. Some of my handouts I share with all clients just as a basic knowledge base. I am a member of IFM, so I do have access to their handouts. So I use their macronutrient educational handouts, some of their general educational handouts. It's just kind of a base, kind of like a sample, welcome folder for the client, is that everybody gets this basic level of education. Yes, I will definitely show you how I organize my handouts. And then that's pretty self-explanatory. No more printing client charts. So, yep, so a couple more things and then I'll jump in and screen share with you all. So we do a number of different lab tests for people and we list them as products. This has been a game changer, the whole product feature, because I seriously feel like I would calculate the cost of a mycotox profile or an organic acid test for my clients like every other week. And now, unless the organization has changed their prices, we have it in one place. So when somebody orders a Great Plains Lab oat test from us, all we have to do is charge them for the product. We don't have to recalculate the cost all over again. It makes it so much easier to quote prices, and it just takes the legwork out. And I can show you my product list. So some unique ways we use charting, we have a custom dispensary at Rebecca Snow Nutrition. And so we create a charting note, which is an herbal script where I can create my herbal formula. Because it's a charting note, we auto-populate the client name, address, email, phone number, and then it's easy. Now that is one thing we do print. We print off all our herbal scripts so we can bring it into the dispensary, fill that, and ship it out. This was something I learned from one of our interns, Dawn Shanone, who's in Illinois. And she created this lab test request form for doctors, which is awesome. Oh, okay. And essentially what you do is it's a charting note. So, because there's 3 ways we get labs on our clients. We either request it ourselves from the doctor, they request it from their doctor, or we run the labs ourselves. When we are requesting from a doctor, or even if we want to give the client a form to bring to their doctor, we have created a charting note where we can just click the buttons of which lab tests we want, and then we fax it over to the doctor. it's amazing. It has saved so much time because you don't have to type it up yourself and remember all the lab tests. I think that's my last slide. So why don't I go into Healthie then and show you some of these features. One sec while I get myself set up here. Stephanie, can you remind me how I can share charting notes with people who might be on the call?
Yeah, good question. That is when you go to the form, you open the form and then there's options and then it says share with colleague.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then how would I enter the colleague?
So then you would need to enter the email address associated with their Healthy provider account, and then it'll share it. It'll basically make a copy of it and add it to that provider's account. So I would say if anyone is requesting a form, it's up to you, Rebecca, if you're comfortable sharing your email address and they can reach out and then you can share the forms that way because you'll need their email address to be able to share the form.
Definitely. Okay. So let me share my screen. So this is my back end of Healthie. Yeah, so my email is rebecca@nutritionherbalcollective.com. And you're welcome to reach out if you want us to share any of the forms. So let's see what people's questions were. Yeah, okay, so troubleshooting tips. Great question. Okay, so we have a program called the CNS Test Prep course. And when people purchase that, they get put into the group CNS Test Prep. And that group is associated with an intake flow. So what you can do is you can create an intake flow for a group. So if I go to my CNS Prep course group intake flow here, I see the two forms. The intake form for the CNS Test Prep, that's just a series of questions like, how did you hear about us? When are you planning to take the test? What areas do you need help with? And then, let me go to next. Oh, my computer's being a little slow. Hold on. Okay. And then if I go to the next form, you can see this is the troubleshooting form you were asking about. So this is more of like a welcome letter. Welcome to the CNS Test Prep course. For more information on accessing programs in Healthie, please visit. And then if you go to clienthelp.gethealthy.com, that site has all these articles for clients when they're having trouble with Healthie issues. So then you can help them troubleshoot with sending them an article. And I send a picture of what it looks like on their end to access the program. So I love using screenshots on my computer whenever I'm giving somebody kind of a how-to. I thought that I put more in here, but my memory was wrong. What I need to put in here is if you want to open up the course faster, please email us and put my email address because that's one question that comes up. But this gives you a sense of how you can use the intake flow to help people be more independent, to be able to access things, troubleshoot themselves if they're having, trouble accessing things. Okay, so that was the first question. Can we see an example of the meal plan service? I use That Clean Life for my meal planning service, which is, it's $60 a month, and you can create meal plans for people. It's awesome, and you can custom automate meal plans. I love it. I would recommend that one. Okay, so let me show you my soap note. And I can also, so Dancing Violet, that's my sample person here. So I'm going into charting, okay? And Viewing charting notes, I'll see old notes on the client. Viewing client forms, I'll see what, their intake forms. So let me go into view charting notes. Okay, so let's create, now I don't actually have a charting note on Dancing Violet because this is a fake person to be HIPAA compliant, but I can show you my template. I call it Soap Sheet for EMR. It's kind of a lengthy title, but back when I was new with EMR, this was also new to me, so that's why I titled it that. I have a lot of boxes to fill in, like what state they're in, because my scope of practice varies state to state, who referred them, chief complaint, and I have a box for narrative because I like to document the client's narrative. Review of symptoms, I usually put a summary of their medical symptom questionnaire there. Diet history, like their food allergies, which I pull from their intake form. 24-hour recall, any particular dietary needs they have. And this is all subjective data: activity, sleep, relationships, environmental exposures and inputs, stress levels. Then I get into objective data. I put the numerical value from their MSQ. I put their medical diagnosis. I summarize their laboratory data, prescription supplements. I do NFPE, nutrition focused physical exam, family history, anthropometrics. I don't weigh everybody. It just depends on their relationship with their body and food. And then I write my assessment, summary of data, causative contributing factors, the priorities we have, and then I write their plan. Now their plan is I create goals and I write their recommendations here. The way that I do recommendations, now usually they're longer than this, but let's say it's drink more water, eat more vegetables, real simple. Let's just type a simple one for this example. I just copy that. And then what I do is so I save my note, go back out to charting notes, and then I have a charting note for recommendations. So this is my recommendations. And I cut and paste my recommendations into a charting note titled recommendations, and then I share this with the client. Add documents viewable to clients. You can also download it as a PDF, but since we're trying to get away from keeping things on the computer, it's really seamless. Now, on my informed consent, I ask people if they're okay with emails, and some of my clients who are of a generation that struggle with technology want me to email it to them, so I will download it in email, but in generally I add the document and it's shared note name, session notes 427, add to documents. So now when I go to Dancing Violet's chart again and I look at their charting, it's going to be in documents, session notes 427, drink more water, eat more vegetables. So that's how I do my recommendations for clients. That's how I do my soap notes. I see there's okay, let me type my email here. That's my email, so you can reach out to me. And I think you got the name of the meal planning service. Okay, so let me show you a couple other charting features that I use that I was mentioning. Okay, so view charting notes. Let's create a lab request form. So lab request slip, this is what I was talking about. I used to back in the day, handwrite or type out all the labs I wanted, and then I'd have to fax them over or email it to the practitioner. So that's actually not my date of birth, but anyway, so let's just say it's 1976. Okay, so auto populates. Then we suggest the following lab markers so I can check off CMP, CBC. Maybe I want a ferritin. Maybe I want a lipid panel. Maybe I want a thyroid panel. a vitamin D. I want to do some IgG food allergies. I want wheat, milk, corn, and an omega check. And then I set this up to be a drag your mouse to e-sign because we have 2 practitioners in my practice. So that way either Kate or I can sign depending on who's requesting the labs. Then I save that and I can now send this as a fax to the doctor. So Dr. Richter's here, Dr. Sivieri, doctors that I partner with frequently. Anytime you send a fax to a doctor, it's gonna, or another practitioner, it's gonna save their contact information, which is awesome. So then you can go back and send them, you know, a message later. So that is how seamless it is to request labs from a doctor using the charting note feature. And then somebody asked to see my script. So let me show you that charting note feature. So I'm going to go to create a charting note and do script. This is our herbal script. Now, this would normally auto-populate, but Dancing Violet is a fake person, so there's no address that auto-populated. But normally you'd get all this stuff auto-populated, which cuts back time. And then what we would be filling in is the number of weeks they want to fill their herbal order, how many refills they get, and we'd be putting the herbal formula in here. So let's say we're making them an herbal tea, and it's 2 grams of Tulsi, 1 gram of nettles, and 1/2 gram rose, and 1/2 gram lavender, and it's 4 grams total. So, and then we give instructions, you know, steep 20 minutes in hot water, strain and drink throughout the day. And then what we do is we print off this charting note. So we save it. And then we go to this one, we do print. And as I said, then we fill it in our dispensary. So that gives you some examples of our charting notes. Okay, and let me see what other questions you have. Oh, hold on, I didn't send the email to everybody. Sorry about that. Okay, there you go. And then somebody wanted to see how I organize handouts. I'd be happy to show you that. So under documents, I have different folders. So like information on oxalates, autoimmune. I don't know what I have in that program folder. Winter Immune Reboot, that is an evergreen program that we created that Stephanie was referencing in an earlier question. Candida, reproductive health. Why don't we look in the Candida folder? Oh, so what I have in there is an anti-Candida food plan. Let's look in autoimmune. Okay, so I have like my AIP protocol, yes, no foods, walls protocol. And so in the oxalates folder, I have a spreadsheet, oxalate content of foods. Let's see, FODMAP, a FODMAP re-challenge. So if I wanted to share this with somebody, I can just go in here and share. I can share with all active clients. I can share with clients when they join or with other members of my organization, or I can just select somebody here like Dancing Violet. And when I share that with Dancing Violet, she or he will get, they will get an email. Now, if I can't remember where I stored something like I was mentioning, I can search phytonutrient and it'll bring up, now I'm thinking I don't have anything titled phytonutrient. Let's try spectrum. Oh, you know why? Because I'm looking in the FODMAP folder. Let's look in the general document folder. Use the search function, and it brings up everything with phytonutrient in it, phytonutrient spectrum foods, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, cool.
We had
And
another question. Sorry, Rebecca. I think, the difference between documents and programs, and you're obviously using both really, really well. So I'll let you kind of just speak to how you use both or differentiate both for your practice.
oh, the program versus a handout.
Yeah, like your documents library versus what you're putting in a program, basically, or
Okay.
how you're using a program.
Yeah, so documents are, I use documents as client education tools or as a value added benefit in a program. So when I'm creating recommendations for a client, um, I will often reference, remember how I showed you how I write my recommendations? If I'm going to be sharing some of these handouts, I will reference in my recommendations, see phytonutrient spectrum handout shared. And then I will go in here and share it with them when I'm doing their recommendations. I also use the handouts in our programs. Programs are much more complex than handouts because they can include video content, they can include handouts, and they can include forms as well. So you could have a client in a program fill out a questionnaire so you can get to know your audience a little better, as well as you can include live sessions. So you could have a live webinar with a date and time and a Zoom link that they join in. And you can also add a recorded webinar into a program. So we can look at the Dive Deep into Health Winter Reboot. We had 39 clients go through this right before COVID started. And so I can give you a sense of how we use the documents in the program. So day one is a welcome email, and we give them a questionnaire for self-reflection. So it's a self-care questionnaire for the IFM. I could input this into Healthie and have them fill it out as a questionnaire in Healthie. This just happened to be a questionnaire that was not in Healthie itself. Oh, here's a good example of the menus, because somebody was asking about the That Clean Life, which I use for menus. This is week one. So it was a 4-week program, and every week we gave people a menu. So this shows you what our menus look like. About this menu, just kind of what are the features of it. And whenever you generate a That Clean Life menu, it gives you the week visual perspective of what foods are included, and then it gives you the nutrient breakdown, and then it gives you a grocery list, and then it also gives you recipes for each recipe. So people were purchasing the information, the menus, and we have a forum. So basically anybody who purchased this course, again, they were in a group. So and that group is attached to this program, and would also be attached to a conversation, which I can't show you because then you'll see client names. But basically, you can create a chat group for a group, like a forum for a group, so people could ask questions dynamically with myself and Kate while they were doing the program. But we had rules of posting in the forum. That was an email that went out, like rules for posting. Power of Rest is a handout. Why rest is important is an email. Having tech trouble was an email. Then we send out our week one recording, and I'll show you that so you can see how you can include. So when you're creating any module within a program, you can add a recording to a module. You can just add written content. You can add a form, a document. There's all kinds of options. I recommend mapping it all out, like in a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word doc, like mapping out your outline. When are you going to put in your videos? What handouts would serve your community? So that kind of gives you a sense of the difference between the handouts and programs and how you can use them. Any other questions? Great.
About the replay, this is recorded. I will send it out if you've registered. Obviously, if you've joined today, you've registered. So there will be an email recording that will go out either later today or tomorrow. So you'll be able to rewatch this.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Stephanie. Again, my name is Rebecca Snow. Yep, you have my email. Feel free to reach out. I'll just say quickly, my website is nutritionandherbalcollective.com. If you want to see how we link Facebook to, how we link Healthie to the actual website, because all throughout the website, there are links to sign up for various courses or strategy sessions or programs that we've created. So we embed the Healthie links, schedule a free strategy session, or sign up for a course. Those are embedded all throughout our website, so you can kind of get a sense of how we use Healthie and integrate it with our front-facing website. All right, thank you all.
Rebecca, this was amazing. It's one thing to talk about using Healthie from a healthy perspective. It is just so much more powerful to see you actually using it in your business. I mean, I can't thank you enough for sharing this information with our community. And thank you for everyone today who joined.
You're most welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.